So we've talked a lot about the history of Trenton Meeting, and I thank you for your time. Friend, share your name again and tell us what we're talking about.
Fred Millner, and I suppose we're talking basically about the status of Trenton Meeting and its history.
That's great. And you shared a little bit about some of the early history, about Revolutionary War history,
right.
How the Hessians at some point damaged the meeting house, cleaning their guns when they'd taken it over.
Yeah, slightly.
And also signers of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution.
Yes, George Clymer.
He was buried in the burial ground.
Buried in our graveyard, right out the front door, or not the back door.
And you also talked about the Orthodox Hicksite split and how there was another meeting house built, Mercer?
Mercer Street Friends. It was on Mercer Street, so they called it the Mercer Street Friends.
And in 1956, when
they merged, and a member of, I think it was a member of, actually, I can't remember his name. I think he might have been a Crosswicks member, but he was very involved in setting up Mercer Street Friends, and as a nonprofit organization, contributed money to set it up, and it's been operating strongly ever since. It's a big social nonprofit in Trenton. Budget of millions.
And that is a big history of Friends, that we have taken our testimonies and tried to live them out and make better conditions for people in our broader communities and our neighbors. Right next to your meeting house is a YWCA.
Yes.
And it looks like it's not working now, but on the sign it said something like ending racism. Tell me about your relationship to that building and what happened there.
The YWCA closed years ago. I don't know, probably 20, 30 years ago. And the building's been pretty much vacant ever since. There was a time, 20 years ago, where a church took it over for Sunday services. And they were blasting gospel music out the windows when we were having meeting for worship. But they didn't last terribly long, Well,
that ended up helping your meeting to get some quiet, but perhaps...
we would love to see that building being used, and things keep coming up and falling by the wayside, falling apart. It's really a hugely discouraging thing about the center of Trenton. It's funny because diagonally across the street from us there was a church. This was 50 years ago that was torn down, and a little one-story office building was built there, and it lasted for 40 years. And a year ago it was torn down because there are plans for putting something else on that spot, and nothing's gone up since then. We read all sorts. There were ideas of building wonderful apartment complex across the street in that huge lot behind the corner, and that nothing came through with that. That fell apart. We have tried to do things on our own. There was a historic building, I think it was 1790s, across the street from us, and we loved the guy who lived there. He would attend meetings, and he passed away, and somebody, a really up and coming, young, energetic guy from the neighborhood anyway, works for the state, and he started Orchid House, a cafe that it's on the other side of the YWCA from us, and we're just excited that is going on. And he wanted to buy this first house I was telling you about across the street. And we made him a loan so that he could buy it, but so far it hasn't been rehabbed. And that's one of the iffy things on we try to keep up the neighborhood if we can, but there's not, there's some stuff that no matter what we do, it doesn't seem to work out.
Well, we talked about the history of Trenton and early Quakers in the 1680s. You reminded me that Trenton's original name was The Little Falls of the Delaware, is that what it was?
No, the falls.
The falls.
The falls of the Delaware.
The falls of the Delaware.
And the reason for that is that the boats could go up from the ocean, from Delaware Bay, all the way up to Trenton, but they couldn't get any further.
That's where they had to stop and unload.
Yes. Yeah.
And the name Trenton, does that come from a town in England, or where does that name come from?
No, that comes from William Trent, who was a very successful businessman and not a Quaker in Trenton in the early 1700s. I'm not sure what his time frame, I'm pretty sure right in the middle of the whole 18th century.
Okay, so Revolutionary War period, just before?
I can't remember.
Yeah.
But it was named after him when it became a city, when they had to take a name and organize.
Well, in those old colonial times, water power was so important, and having falls is how you could run mills. And so Trenton would have been an early industrial town, a place of a lot of investment and making of wealth.
Yes.
And so really one of the things that I'm learning about Trenton in these conversations is that it is a story of investment and disinvestment. And so having the meeting been through all of this, it must be sort of hard for the meeting to witness the disinvestment. Yet the state of New Jersey has resources and is making investments all over. So is there expectation that Trenton might come back as a different city in the future, or what do you think people think?
I can't answer that. I really can't. I have my own opinion, which is that I don't think anybody knows how to do it. It's funny because I've had experience. My daughter lived in Lancaster, which made an incredible recovery of its downtown, especially because it had, who was it? It was the Rockefellers, put in millions of dollars to do this, experiment, and it seems to have worked.
It's a lovely town.
That's what it takes.
And it has a little college.
Yes, and college is a big part, I think, of the reason for its survival.
But it's my understanding from history that the original College of New Jersey, is it in Trenton?
Well, it's funny. Historically, the original College of New Jersey was what's now Princeton.
Right.
And it was in Princeton.
Okay.
Yeah. Trenton had the Trenton State College, which was one of the most remarkable and great teachers' schools in the country.
Wow.
And it's now the College of New Jersey. They took over the name.
Oh, well, that was smart.
And it's not. It was in downtown Trenton, but it moved out to Lawrenceville years ago.
So you don't have a college?
Well, we have Mercer County College.
Okay.
Community College, Mercer County Community College, and they have offices all over. They have classrooms. They have classrooms the next block over from us, but their main campus is out in Hamilton Township, out in the suburbs. I have to bring back that you were talking about the industrialization in mills, and the original settler, of course, was Mullen Stacy, the Quaker who built a mill on Assunpink Creek, which is the creek that flows into the Delaware at Trenton, and built the mill. And I think it was I'm not sure what kind of mill, probably a grist mill. Could have been also sawmill, or whatever, but that was the original business of Trenton, run by a Quaker.
And how many of these families from these early descendants do you think there are in the area, the surrounding region today?
Few and far, hard to find.
Yeah.
There's still some. It's hard to keep track, and so many have left the faith.
Well, Fred, before our, I always talk about the meeting before the meeting, and in one of those meetings, you were sharing about how you actually grew up in Trenton.
Yes. Well, my father grew up in Trenton.
Your father grew up in Trenton.
And my grandfather basically grew up in Trenton. He moved there when he was something like 9.
So third generation.
Well, his father moved to Trenton, too.
Well,
my great-grandfather lived on Mill Hill, and I know the address, and the building still stands. He was in the 1890 census.
Wow.
And
what was your great-grandfather's name, do you know?
His name was, I'm drawing a blank, Samuel Millner.
Samuel Millner.
Yeah, and he immigrant from Lithuania.
Okay.
And Jewish.
And Jewish.
And yeah, there's a big Jewish community there. And
so you are, if I heard you right, you would be fourth generation Jewish, and is it a Trentonian?
Yes.
What do you call yourselves?
Yeah, well, I was actually born in California because that's where my father was stationed in World War II. But he went there from Trenton and moved back to Trenton afterwards. So I can call myself a Trentonian.
So how old were you when you first can really remember Trenton?
4, 5. Actually, my first memory, when people ask me, first memory as a kid, when I was 2 years old and we lived in Trenton, an area called Glen Afton, and a house that my grandfather owned, and he let us live there while my father was starting a residency in New York City as a physician. And my first memory was a door-to-door salesman coming with a vacuum cleaner, and he turned it on to demonstrate, and I was scared out of my wits. Never forgotten it.
Wow, that's wonderful. Everyone has a first memory, and yours is of the traveling salesperson and the vacuum cleaner.
Yep.
And what year would that have been approximately?
I think it was a Bissell. that would have been 1948.
So after the war.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And did you have brothers and sisters growing up?
Oh yeah. I have one brother, a year younger, and 2 sisters who are 5 and 6 years younger.
And are any of them still in Trenton?
My brother is in Yardley.
Okay.
And I'm actually in Hamilton. So,
okay.
So neither of us are really. And my 2 sisters are all over the place. One lives in New Hampshire and one lives in the state of Washington.
Uh-huh. And how many of the members of the Trenton meeting who come on a first day live in the city of Trenton?
Oh, that's a tough question. Not very many.
Right.
Most are commuting in from Lawrenceville, and one from Princeton, or 2 from one from Princeton at least. One couple.
I just think that's a wonderful dedication when people love their meeting and love their meeting house and are willing to travel. I
have to tell you, when I started looking for a faith and decided to try out Quakerism, the first meeting I went to was Princeton. And I, decided to try someplace else, and I went out to Crosswicks, and it was okay. And then I found out there was a Trenton meeting, and I hadn't known it, so I went to the Trenton meeting, and I liked it, and I started attending for a couple of months, and one of the elders came up to me after the meeting and said, have you ever thought about wanting to be a Quaker? And it was the first time anybody had ever asked, and I thought about it and said, sounds good. So that's where I stayed. Wow. And that was about 1991. I've been coming ever since.
Well, that's a lovely story, because that's the kind of story that I think Quakers want to know, is how do we allow people to come into our meeting and welcome them? And one of the things that I've read about Friends Journal and Western Friend and other journals is people writing about radical welcome. And I know that you all have been known and talked about among the quarter about the way that you've welcomed in people from the community and children from the community who didn't necessarily know anything about Quakerism, but appreciated the radical welcome that you all were offering. Can you talk about how that has worked and how you've responded to people who came from different backgrounds?
Well, it's funny. I'm not one of the radical welcomers. I have nothing against it. I think it's a great idea, and I leave it to others to do it better than I could do it.
But you felt welcomed, and that was an important part of your belonging.
That was not radical. That was a very Quakerly welcome.